Philo, when you learn, teach, and when you get, give. Welcome to Conversation with Verdel Jones. I'm your host, Verdel Jones. Being an educator at heart, I'm dedicated to sharing information that informs and enlightens in the hopes that you learn something you may not have known. We have an awesome show planned. I'm so excited to have Phoenixx Love here in studio with me. We're going to be talking about her book and all of the exciting things that she does and how she really helps individuals. So I want to thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Verdel.
You're welcome. And before we get started, I just want to give a little information about Phoenixx Love. She's an intuitive wellness advocate, a revolutionary change agent dedicated to healing souls and transforming lives around the world. And she is a 2018 Indie Author Legacy Award winner. Congratulations. When I saw that on Facebook, I was so excited. and then we're going to have another guest, Martine. She was there as well.
Yes.
And then I had another woman that I met when I had an event, Lenita Halston, and she's from Maryland, and she was there also.
Wow.
So I'm like, this is awesome. This is so great. Well, in her newest book, Phoenixx Love, she is the co-author of the groundbreaking anthology, Black Therapists Rock, A Glimpse Through the Eyes of Experts. And in her chapter, which is titled The Rebirth Out of the Ashes, is a gut-wrenching yet poetic narrative of Phoenixx's traumatic childhood experiences and how it influenced her healing journey and how it paved the way to her divine calling as a mental health professional, an advocate, and a holistic health practitioner. She is also the author of the book, If I Should Die Before I Wake. So we're going to be talking about that as well. I did get an opportunity to read some of the book, and I love the way that it's laid out, so we're going to talk a little bit about that too. So tell me first how the book came together, Black Therapists Rock. It's a collection of Black therapists who each have a chapter. How did that kind of come together, and why did that come together?
Oh, that's correct. So Black Therapists Rock is an organization founded by CEO Duran Young, who is also a therapist. And it's really her vision to basically get the word out about other Black therapists that are able to provide mental health services to the masses.
Yeah.
Most of the time, we have this issue of people who may be suffering emotionally with mental health disorders, and as people of color and marginalized communities who feel that they do not have someone they can go to that looks like them.
Right.
So she created the organization for that, and the anthology pretty much came together because there's a number of us that are therapists. We have basically this profession chose us because of the issues that we may have had in our past through childhood and going through different problems and challenges. And, it led us on this journey in our path to becoming therapists and wanting to help others. So the anthology is basically that. It's a collection of 16 therapists of color that each are telling their story, each sharing their journey of, trauma, challenges, different challenges they may have had in their childhood, different challenges they may have had in their adulthood, and how they were able to heal from that, and then their journey of helping others to heal also. So,
and one of the things also that, and you hear it time and time again, that, in our community, people of color don't necessarily want to reach out to someone. But like you said, it might not be that. It might be because they don't have someone that looks like them that they think that can relate to them in some instances as well.
Exactly.
So
and really it's all about, breaking down those barriers, breaking the stigma that is usually very prevalent in our communities. Because we usually just think about, someone may have a mental health disorder or maybe going through some challenges, and you say, kind of brush it off. That's crazy.
He's crazy.
Or pray
that's
about
how Johnny
it.
Is.
Or that's how they are.
Exactly.
And, it's been the culture in our community. So the organization and the anthology is all about helping to combat that mindset about therapy.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's needed, especially because in our community, it's as if in some instances we're going through post-traumatic stress on a daily basis with microaggressions and things that happen in communities with loved ones, and and we really need that outlet. We need someone to kind of sort it out for us, because sometimes we can't think clearly because of everything that's going on. So,
Exactly.
yeah, it's really important. So you're a holistic practitioner, a holistic health practitioner.
Holistic health.
And I know that you do a lot of things, right? So what does that mean when you say you're a holistic health practitioner?
So, I am a licensed mental health therapist. And I say my platform is all about mental health advocacy, providing those services, both evidence-based practice services,
Right.
which we will talk about that I know a little bit later.
Right.
And from a holistic health perspective. So I look at it this way. We have to understand that, everything that involves any type of healing, or if we're going through some kind of problem, there's a mind, body, soul, spirit connection.
Right, it's all connected.
It's all connected. So it's really challenging to say that you've kind of addressed one part of that, and then the other parts are still falling apart.
Makes a lot of sense.
I look at, when I do work with my clients, I do a comprehensive assessment to look at every aspect of their life. So the questions, I have like 24 questions that I go through, and really a thorough examination just to find out, evaluation rather, just to find out what is going on with that person. Just so that, and they may come to me with an emotional issue, it may be a physical issue, it may be a spirituality issue.
Okay.
So we look at every aspect
It's comprehensive.
of that person. Exactly.
It's very comprehensive.
Exactly.
Because I know, and I share with you, I've been to counseling before, and I did find it beneficial, but never was I asked any other questions except the issue that I was bringing to the table,
And that is the typical westernized kind of methodology that is used, especially when it comes down to people of color. And this is what happens sometimes when we go to seek help, whether it's for mental health or it's for physical health. There are just certain things that are just left on the table, or it's missed, or we're misdiagnosed constantly. So this is really what, my background was working in psychiatric care. So I worked for psychiatric hospitals for both adult and children.
Oh, wow.
And just going through that process of being a therapist, a primary therapist, and then later an administrator, where I was dealing with policy and making decisions and running a department. You just get to see a lot.
Yeah.
And you get to see a lot where you're saying, you know what, there has to be a better way.
There has to be a better way, right.
Okay.
So you talked about the evidence base. So with 24 questions that you ask someone, it has to be evidence based. So kind of talk, because people, they hear that term a lot. What does that actually mean, and how does that play out in your practice?
So evidence-based, EVPP, evidence-based practices, or what we call just basically research-based, okay, empirical-based.
Right.
So it's based in research. So everything that, as therapists, and we are held to this because we're licensed with the New York State Board, Office of Professions, that there's basically some type of research. There's been maybe clinical trials that have been done, or studies that have been done, or focus groups that have been done. And there are actual documented research that backs up the particular intervention or methodology that you use. For example, I use a lot of trauma-focused CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy, which I know you're therapy, which I know you're familiar with. And then there's dialectical behavioral therapy also, which is DBT, and that's where you hear a lot about mindfulness, radical acceptance, and these the middle ground, and just different evidence-based interventions that I use with the clients, along with the holistic health practices.
Tying in both of it.
Exactly.
Okay. So we're gonna move ahead, because this is a great discussion. If I Die Before I Wake, just a little bit about the book, and then I really want to ask you a serious question, because I need help with trying to figure it out. So tell me about your book, If I Die Before I Wake.
If I Die Before I Wake, Your Journey to Awakening Your Calling is really what I call a healing tool. It's one of my healing tools. I have what I call a medicine bag that I pull out depending on, what's going on with that particular client and a person that comes to me for assistance. And this is just one of them. It really was a book that came out of I was waking up every night at 3 o'clock in the morning,
Right.
like an alarm clock going off, and it was time for me to write this book. It's a
Okay.
book that, for 6, maybe even 10 years in the
Wow.
making, I was supposed to write.
Right.
And it just got to the point in 2016, it was like, no, it's time.
It's time.
So
You
God
gotta do
was
it.
nudging on
That's
me
right.
because basically I was blocking other people's blessings because I have.
That's right. You had all of this inside
I had all of
you,
this
right?
inside of me. It's different stories and anecdotes.
Yeah, I
It's
love it.
50 transformative messages that's really designed to help someone discover what their purpose in life or their calling is, or to further cultivate what they're already working on.
Right.
And there's journaling exercises. There's
I saw
some of those
exercises.
24 questions
Right.
are in there.
Okay.
And so that really to prompt someone to say, you know what, I really do need to understand, why am I here? Why
Right.
why did the divine, why did the creator even make me?
Right.
And what am I supposed to be doing, and how do I,
question. Yeah.
take that walk? What does that
right.
journey look
That's
like?
right. Because people want to find their passion, but they really, sometimes they don't know how. They don't know
Exactly.
what it even is. So as I was reading it, I'm like, okay, I know what I'm supposed to be doing. But it really gives you insight to things you don't think about. So I appreciated that.
Thank you. Well, that's the point.
I appreciated that. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I like this. And it's so funny because a couple of people that, we met a couple places, but
Right.
you participated in our Write, Rhyme, and Recite collective.
Yes.
And people gravitated toward this book just by what you're saying, your journey to awakening to your calling.
Yes.
And that's important because people are looking for that. So, kudos for writing such a wonderful tool for people to use. Now, one question that I really want to ask, you have Healer's Haven, that's your practice.
Yes, that's correct.
Where you, as you were speaking, you work with individuals, you work with groups and organizations as well.
That's correct.
My question that I really, really wanted to ask, because I think a lot of people struggle with this, is in today's world, how do you not put the weight of the world on your shoulders? There's so much going on. You look at some things and you feel like you can't take it anymore. What more can happen in this world? And how do you not, take that on as an individual?
So I will speak for my own practices because as a therapist, as a healer, as someone that a leader that's working with all different types of people,
Right.
I have to make sure that I take extra care of myself.
Right.
That I am doing everything that I don't even want to say prescribe, but everything that I, guide my clients with, I do myself.
Right. You can't
so
sit
prayer,
there crying with
meditation.
them.
No. Prayer, meditation, I do gemstone and crystal healing.
Right.
And I use the practices, mindfulness, and making sure that I am always centered and present.
Right.
That's my recommendation because what happens when what anxiety is all about is when you are always spinning your wheels and your mind is always thinking about the future, what could happen in the future.
Right.
That's when you're anxious. Or you're depressed, you're thinking about what has happened in the past or
Right.
what did I measure up to be, and you're dwelling on that, you're ruminating on that.
Right.
Being present. Practicing mindfulness, meditation, whatever your faith beliefs are, prayer, affirmations, scriptures. You have to know what works
What it
for
is,
you,
right.
but being present is the best way to be able to not carry all of that, the
Right.
weight on your world. And the other
Right.
thing is boundaries. Boundaries is a big, part of being able to have balance in your life.
Right.
And that's boundaries with people in your life. That's boundaries
Very true.
with your work schedule.
Right.
Boundaries with how you take care of what you eat and what you put in your body. Okay, so all
Right.
of these are factors, and that's another thing. Making sure that you are eating the right foods
Right.
and you're drinking alkaline water
Right.
and alkaline foods, and then you're moving your body. I'm not
Right.
saying everybody's a gym right. I hate the gym, but I'll go,
Right, but you go.
because I have
Yeah,
to.
right,
But
exactly.
you have yoga, you have Zumba, you
Lot
have
of
all these different
different
things,
things.
dancing,
Right.
hiking.
Right.
So I think just again, the world is going to be what it is.
Right.
But if you
It's how you react to it, right?
It's how you react to it, and turn off the news.
That's
sometimes.
right. Just turn it off.
Just turn off the TV.
So I want to put up Phoenixx's contact information so people can, reach out to her. what's next? What's going on in Phoenixx Love's world right now?
I was going to say my love life with my husband.
Your anniversary, you just celebrated.
My anniversary is coming up.
It's coming up.
8/9.
Okay,
Yes,
that's right.
That
Okay.
was me. So actually, where we started with Black Therapists Rock, we actually have the Black Therapists Rock conference that's going to be in Silver Springs, Maryland, and
wow.
I'm actually one of the panelists on a Black Minds of Meditation panel. So that's coming up in August, the weekend of August 3rd through the 5th.
Okay. All right. Well, I just want to say that I think you're awesome.
I think you're awesome too. Thank you so much.
And I love talking to you because, that positive energy,
you
can tell when people have a positive energy about them, and you sincerely care about helping people. And, I love that and I appreciate that. So I want to thank you for being here. Hi, we're back with Martine Mayes, and thank you so much for coming into the studio. Really happy to have you. So I'm going to tell people a little bit about Martine. She's a self-published, award-winning author, a womb confidence specialist, a uterine fibroid survivor, and a motivational speaker. In her new book, Faces of Uterine Fibroids, Untold Story of a Woman's Biggest Secrets, women share their stories about their fibroid tumor journey. And as a fibroid warrior and a survivor for 21 years, Martine Mayes has devoted her time to consulting, advising, and supporting women with uterine fibroids. Martine has created a platform for them to tell and share their experiences with the world through inspirational, motivational, and transformational avenues. So we appreciate the work that you're doing. Fibroids it's prevalent. And I'm so happy that you're here to discuss this, because there are so many women out there that suffer from fibroids. Either they don't know it, they don't even know what it is. So what I would like to kind of do is talk about what uterine fibroids actually are.
What they are, they're non-cancerous tumors that actually grow on the outskirt or the insides, or sometimes both, of the uterus. And the thing about it is that they're very silent. You may have them without even knowing, like you stated.
Yep.
When they start to bother you, then that's when they become very serious.
Right. So why did you decide to write the book?
Well, my journey is 21 years with uterine fibroids.
Right.
So I had them from half of my life.
Right.
I was diagnosed with them from the age of 19 years old. And at that time, being very young, I was told by women OBGYN that it would probably be best for me to get a hysterectomy because
at how
19,
old?
because my condition was bad. Basically,
at 19.
she told me, and I was suffering. I had heavy bleeding, abdominal pain, pelvic pain. There are times where I dealt with inflammation of the legs. I was always anemic by the time I started my menstruation. So it just got worse in due time. And it didn't matter how many different type of supplements I took, whether it was iron pills or I dealt with herbs or I was juicing. I did everything you could possibly think of. But the thing about it, many of the strategies I used organically helped, but my case was peculiar because I also had fibroids inside of my uterus, as if I was carrying babies.
Wow.
And those are the ones that were really giving me major problems.
Right.
I could not get rid of those. They were literally sucking on my blood. The blood was their blood supply.
Right. So, and talk about that a little bit, because I have fibroids as well. And that was one of the things that I didn't know, that they take the blood away from you.
Yes.
That's like their food, right?
Yes, that's how they survive.
Right, yeah, which was, I had no idea.
Yeah.
So not only if you have, heavy menstrual cycles, you're losing blood that way, an abnormal amount, let's say.
Yes.
But they're also sucking the blood from your body. So that's why you were iron deficient.
Very iron deficient.
Very
iron deficient. It came to a point where it was dangerous. And being iron deficient, what people don't understand is that it may turn into something related to the heart.
Okay.
So by the time I reached my 21st year, I was on the point where I could possibly have heart failure.
Wow.
Because my blood supply was very, very low.
Wow.
Very low.
And you talk about glasses of ice.
Yes. In the book, I mentioned how I used to be an ice crusher.
Yeah. So was
And let me tell you, I never knew that being anemic makes you eat ice.
Isn't that why? I mean, isn't that odd?
And the reason why, when I started doing research and I
Right.
said I need to know what's going on,
Right.
well, the ice actually gives you oxygen.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and what we need in the blood is oxygen.
Wow. Isn't the body amazing?
It is. And it's like as soon as
really is.
you would eat the ice, you would feel
Feel
better. Right?
It's so true.
Meanwhile,
it's so true.
it's only a small amount of relief compared to the oxygen that you actually need.
It's just, when I read that, I was like, yep.
Yeah. So the
I can
truth
relate.
about it is that when you're highly anemic and you're dealing with a very low oxygen.
Right,
You know,
okay.
So,
Exactly. So that's why.
yeah, we turn to ice automatically.
We turn to ice.
That's the brain
It's
does
so-
that.
Yeah,
That's the brain.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So you talked a little bit about physically what you were going through, but how did it affect, or how does it affect women mentally as well?
Ooh. I just had a conversation in my car before this because I speak to women on a daily basis.
Okay.
And that's how I counsel, through some coaching.
Okay.
And let me tell you, it affects us mentally on a very, very high rate.
Right.
It's unbelievable. I remember for me personally, being in school was difficult.
Right.
Being able to concentrate, being in college, being able to finish. Everything was just such a hard, task going
Right.
from one end to another. It's like you're sitting here and you're looking at a bottle that you can just reach out and touch. But before you could get there, you have to go through so many curves.
Right.
And that's the way life was for me.
Right.
And a lot of women identify to that.
That's right.
But another thing that I really want to
Wow.
share when we're talking about the mental is that we all have to understand, and as I do more and more research, that fibroids, the condition itself is hormone based. It's a hormone imbalance that we tend to have that
Okay.
we don't understand.
Right.
And the reason why the body develops the fibroids is because, first of all, we have too much of a high dose of estrogen. Some of us with polycystic ovaries have too much of a high dose of testosterone.
Okay.
So we have an imbalance
imbalance in
one way or
hormones.
the other.
Wow.
And with fibroids directly, the higher the estrogen, the higher risk that that you're gonna get fibroids to grow. That's what triggers the fibroids to grow.
Okay. That's why when women hit menopause, their fibroids kind of shrink and right.
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
And another thing with the imbalance is that we have to be mindful of what we put in our system in terms of foods, our intake. So we have to look towards items, nutrients that are not going to trigger the actual estrogen. So that'll be like becoming more vegetarian, plant-based.
Milk, I would think milk,
Grains.
all the hormones that milk has in it, right?
Milk is actually an enemy for
Right.
us.
Yeah, exactly.
But we do need a little bit of it.
Right.
So the thing
The
about it, we
calcium,
cannot
right.
eliminate
Yeah.
everything, but we have to not only portion size, but we have to know our dosage and what our bodies can tolerate.
take.
That's why we have to go to the doctor to know exactly what our levels are.
Right.
Because once you know what your levels are, then you know what you're dealing with.
So let me ask you this. A woman is suffering from some of the symptoms, like heavy menstrual cycles or cramps, pain. For me, it was heavy bleeding. It was 9 days on my menstrual cycle. It was I was a hot mess.
Yes.
Like there was only 1 week out of the month where I felt
Good.
okay.
Yeah.
So, and what I did was I went to my doctor and said, hey, this is what's going on. I got the ultrasound, all that stuff. What do you recommend for women that have those symptoms? Because you mentioned the levels too. So what should they be asking their doctors for? Because you have to be an advocate for yourself.
You have to.
you
have
really
to.
do. You really do.
One thing that helped me is that I definitely became an advocate for myself because when I went to those doctor's offices, I made sure I said, listen, this is my condition, this is what I was told, but this is where I want to go.
Right.
So please tell me what I need to do.
Right.
Like I don't want an overall consultation,
Right.
vague consultation,
Right.
because I'm past that.
You're past that. Right. You know what's going on.
You know?
Yeah.
And I came to a point where some doctors they don't really have the time to give you the specifics because their practice is revolved around the overall, because it's a lot simpler, a lot easier.
Yeah.
But once you get into the fine details, it becomes more of a personable relationship.
Okay.
And it took me 21 years to reach a doctor that was able to sit me down,
Wow.
you know, and really take it upon himself to say, listen, you know, this is your condition, this is what you're going through. One way or the other, you're gonna have to have surgery.
Right.
You know, or else you may not be here in a
That's
few,
right.
you know.
Wow. Oh my goodness. So what kind of solutions are there for women with fibroids? Because there's so many options. Like at 19, someone told you need a hysterectomy, which is unbelievable.
Well, you know, hysterectomy is the easiest and fastest way.
Right, and the fibroids will not grow back.
Right, but
Right.
but it's easy because it's easier for the physician.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's easy for the physician because it's a simple process for the procedure. It's just taking everything out.
Yeah, that's it.
You know, and that's it. But it's a disadvantage to you based on your lifestyle and what you would like to achieve.
That's right. That's right. Depending, you know, if you want to have children, you know, there's a lot of things that go into it.
And not only that, you know, I was also told by the physician who delivered me, I would say, you know, gave me my idea of my deliverance. Basically, he said it's a difficult surgery. It's a lot on the physician because it's a lot of skills.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, it's a lot of skills.
Because you had your fibroids removed.
Yes.
Right.
And I still have my uterus. As a matter of fact, my uterus was actually deformed. And what they had to do is that they ended up taking out my uterus, cleaning it out totally, and reshaping it the way it was really supposed to be.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I had it insert back inside of me so that I can go through my healing process.
Oh my
So my
goodness.
surgery wasn't just an open myomectomy. I mean, I had like almost reconstructive surgery.
Oh my goodness.
You know, and you don't really hear about it.
No.
It's done, but it takes a lot. You know.
Wow.
It takes a lot.
That is.
It's not a quick healing. It's not a quick surgery. You know, I was out of work for 2.5 to almost 3 months. You know, on just to heal.
That's amazing, just to heal. But you got it done, and you know, and you were able to move on. You know, even after you went through that 21-year journey. We have a couple minutes. I want to get into something that I thought was so fascinating. We met at the Curl Expo.
Yes.
And what you were vending there. You had your book there, but you also had sanitary napkins, and I had seen them on the internet and, you know, like on Facebook videos, but I talked to you about them and I immediately bought some. Just talk a little bit about that and the importance of what you put next to your body is really important to know.
Well, I was lucky enough to be introduced by Inspire Network, which is the company that came out with the Cherish pads while I was in my recovery.
Right.
Okay. While I was on my recovery, so I was basically in bed on my phone doing all this research, and my girlfriend says, "Hey, you know, this sounds like your story. Take a look at this."
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, okay." So when I looked at it, I was just like, it's weird, you know, the things they were doing, and the demonstrations,
right.
And they were dissecting the actual, you know, feminine napkin into different layers, and I was just like, I've never seen anything like this. But it was interesting, so I said, okay, let me just keep on. And they were very consistent in promoting and everything. So I really got into it while I was in my recovery.
Wow.
And then when I really zeroed in, I realized that the pads, like they were educating us, they brought an awareness to me to know that the pads we're actually using that are on the market are very toxic. And that's how I learned how the actual feminine napkin is actually made. Right.
You know? I will not buy any others now except for yours. Cherish. Yes. Exactly. You know? Because it really makes a difference.
It does. It does.
Really makes a difference.
I mean, for me, once I realized and knew that the ones that I was using had bleach in them, and they were done from discarded newspapers, you know, passed in like a paper process. I was like, okay, that doesn't sound good. But then again, my personal experience from the Cherish pads is that I used to have a cycle of 8 days. And automatically, once I started using them, it reduced from 8 days to 3.5 to 4 days. That's half.
Wow.
And then as I continue to use them, not only the cycle remained that as being diminished, but the process, the pain that I was going through was diminishing.
Right.
And now, to tell you the truth, if I'm on my cycle, it's just like, oh, okay,
It's another day.
just get a church pass. You know, I don't have to miss days of anything that I'm doing.
Right.
Like, life goes on.
Life goes on. Right.
Which is
right.
totally different.
Totally
So
different.
I had to get adjusted to that.
Right, exactly.
You know?
So what's next? I want to put up information on how people can reach out to you in reference to your book and also the Cherish Pads. So we put up the contact information. But what's next? What's going on with Martine? What are you going to be working on in the near future?
Well, the near future is very soon. Currently, I'm working on a major event. November is the month of, I call it my rebirth. That's when I had my fibroid surgery. So this November, I'm celebrating that day. And I'm inviting everyone. It's going to be a formal gala event. Women and men are invited. It's going to be a pink formal affair.
Oh, nice.
And on November 10th.
Okay.
And yeah, this is what I'm working on. And the flyer will be coming out next week.
All right, great,
You know,
great,
so-
great.
And what we're going to do, it's going to be an open discussion, a very nice event for people to understand what the fibroids are, and that, you know, even though you may have this condition, I don't want it to be like the end of the world for anyone.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't the end of the world for me. Yes, it took 21 years, but you know what? I shared with a friend yesterday and said it might have been 21 years, but it's so funny that I don't feel that it was 21 years.
Right.
I'm just so present to the moment
Right
that
now,
I'm living in right now and what I'm doing.
Exactly.
That it's just like, you know, I wouldn't change it for anything because this is what made me.
That's who, right.
You know,
Part
but
of
at
who
the
you
same
are.
time, it's 21 years, a long time for a lot of people, but for me, it's just like, okay, let's just move on. What's next?
Right. So I want to thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
This is so important.
It
It
is.
is so important. So I thank you so much for bringing this awareness to women everywhere. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Welcome back. As you can see, I have my next guest here, Monique Young. She's a wife, a mother, a grandmother, a comedian who proudly wears the badge of raising 4 millennial daughters. God bless you.
Heaven smile upon me.
She understands how it is to raise children and wonder if you're making the right decisions and guiding them through life. In her new book, It Worked For Me, Tips for Raising Millennial Daughters, you will learn from all of her trial and error moments and get a head start, or at least a do-over, with learning how to connect with your millennials. So
Yes.
I want to thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
This is great.
Yes, it is.
So as I was telling you before, you know, as I was reading the book, I heard your voice in the book, and that was awesome. I love to
Right.
read a book and hear the author and know the author, and I've been privileged to get to know a lot of authors. So I really enjoyed that. It really has your voice there. And so you have 4 daughters, and Jeanette, Janique,
Yep.
Jory,
Yep.
and Jelena.
Yep.
And how?
And believe me, right? I don't know how they're not Mona Lisa, Monique, and Mary. I don't know why. Well, actually, my mother, who passed away when I was 5, her name was Jeanette. And my mother-in-law's name is Joyce. So it
Okay.
became, the first one was Jeanette Joyce. Then it just
Okay.
started to become a pattern.
Right, exactly.
So if one of them
Okay.
had bad credit, they're all going to have bad
Yeah,
credit.
right, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Because they all have the same initials.
Right, exactly. With
Right.
us, it's M. So I have
Okay.
Marcus and Maya.
Okay.
I only have 2.
Right.
But if I would have had more, they
would've
would have
went
been.
on.
It would have went on. I don't know why we do that, but I thought it was
It's fun.
It's fun. I thought
right.
it was cute.
It makes for a good story.
That's
Yes,
right. That's
yes.
right. I love the names. They're great.
Yes.
But what made you write this book?
Okay, so coming into my 50th year of life, you know, I started to pray on what is my purpose.
Yeah,
You know, and
you
God
told me
kind of
that.
spoke into like, thoughts for your daughters was really what I heard.
Okay.
And at first I was like, what do you do with that? Like, where's he asking me to go?
Right.
But eventually I got, you know, God will never give you something and not connect you to something that will get you where you got to
Okay.
go. So we kind of like shared it with one person.
Yes.
They said, you know, write it down, share it with the next person. Let's work on putting it into some
Okay.
type of form.
Right.
Of, you know,
Right.
what we're gonna do.
How's it gonna
and
work,
then it
right.
all shaped into place. Yeah.
Exactly. So your book is broken down into 3 sections. You have part 1 is directly for your daughters, part 2 is for parents, and
Right.
then 3 is for women in general.
General,
So
yes.
talk a little bit about why you decided to put it that way, because I know writing a book, you really have to think out how it's going to flow,
Yes.
and what makes the most sense. So why did you decide to do it that way?
Okay, so thank God I connected with this wonderful woman, Robin Devonish,
Okay.
who is a self-publishing maven. So she helped me a lot with that kind of thing, because once again, I wasn't a writer. Like, I had no desire, or it was not like my thing. Like, I was like, oh, I'm going to write a book and I'll write it this way. No,
right.
no.
You need help with that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I had a lot of thoughts and information, but I didn't have format and knowledge of that. But once I connected with her, she gave me a lot of information. But she said, listen, what we're going to do is, so that this doesn't run on, we need to separate it out, so that who's going to glean what from what part.
That's right.
You know, because you want to make sure.
Right. And with a book like that, a book like yours, sometimes you go, like you said, from section to section,
right,
because something speaks to you.
Right.
So you have to make sure you lay it out like that, so people aren't.
Right, like, where are you going?
Right, exactly.
And when will we get back?
But it's laid out great, because it gives you, you know, that you can go to a certain section and get some
and
insight.
find what you're looking for. Hopefully,
exactly.
Yes.
One of the things that I also love was that you wrote letters to your children as newborns. I have a couple questions about that.
Okay.
I thought that was amazing. I love that idea.
Okay.
Why did you decide to do that? This is my first question, but my next one is, when did you give them the letters, and what was their reaction?
Right. So, the purpose was, at first, my thought was, one, my mother died when I was very young.
Right.
So, I would imagine that she had a lot of hopes and dreams for me, but there was nothing written. There was no, like, I don't know what her handwriting looked like. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I think about those things, it spoke to me, to my spirit. Like, I need to leave something that they would have that would say, wow, just like my mother really thought that, or, because you don't know. I mean, there's been death after childbirth, things that, and even I say that, for women that didn't have a baby that doesn't cry, or cries but goes to sleep. Let's memorialize that by writing a letter.
That's right.
I mean, even if you have more children, great. If you don't have more children, still great, because now you have something to bring you back to that moment of feeling good.
Right.
Because there's going to be those seconds that you had that it was hopeful, and you can write to that. So I thought that there's so many women that suffer after childbirth in that situation that don't have a way to memorialize it other than grief. But sometimes you needed something to make it a little bit more of a positive experience. Now, as for my girls, naturally, everybody wants to be a little more special. Like,
What are the age
okay,
ranges?
So one just turned 30.
Oh, nice.
Even though I'm 37, so I was like a weird thing. It's weird. It's very awkward. She's 30. My second daughter is 27.
Okay.
My third daughter is 21, and my baby is 16.
Whoa.
So as you can see, I was in a quest for a son, but now I realized that God didn't plan that for me.
That's
right. And I could feed 4 and start 5, so I stopped myself.
Right.
Stop it. But they all enjoyed it. They all enjoyed the and when I put it in the book, they were like, "You put it in the book?" Like, so it became even more special. But like I told them that, there's some things naturally weren't in there, because you don't give everything. There's some things that were for just them.
Right.
But just an understanding that it's an important thing to share. Like, your kid will wake up when, some point, it may not even be at 15 or 16 or whatever it may be, but at some point they're going to go back to that letter and be like, wow, it's legacy. Like, it's left. All right. It's nothing they can do about it.
That's
right. It's
That's
there.
Right.
Yeah,
so. We have children's, the baby books. So in the baby books, we wrote all kinds of stuff. And it's so, our daughter, our son, I don't even know if he looked at his baby book, but
yes, but mine, but what's so
our daughter
funny?
does, and it's really cool to have her have
so
that.
when you say, like, okay, so with the age group, right? So the 30-year-old and 27-year-old have a great baby book. I'm like, I was all into it. I'm like, them last two,
not so much.
Not so. I'm like, put together. So that
I know.
I'm not so proud of. I'm not so proud of. But I did my best. I did my best.
I mean, 4, which is a blessing.
Yes.
It is a blessing. But
it does become.
Yeah, and having girls, I mean, that's such a challenge. And you write, and your girls are all different, and as all of our children are.
Yes.
So you really have to, as a parent, you have to kind of navigate
Yes.
how to react to one and how to, do with this one.
Right.
It's,
And one of the things I write about in the book, and I want even my listening audience, if you never read my book, or what I will pray you will, but if you don't, take this and understand that your children are like cakes. They all have different ingredients.
Right.
Don't think
They
that
do.
you can make a chocolate cake with lemon ingredients.
That's right.
It's
That's
not going
right.
to work.
That's right.
So that's something that I really express to young mothers. Don't try, or any mother, don't try to put them in, sections and
Can't.
hope it's going to work. No, it's not. They're different. They need different things.
They need different things.
And what you use with one is not going to work with the other.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
And it even to the point of discipline.
Right.
Our son, we would take away things,
Right.
and he would be upset.
Right.
Our daughter, she was never on punishment before.
Right.
Because that's not what, she was just never on punishment.
Right. It
Because
wasn't necessary.
It wasn't necessary. So they were very, he
Very
would do
different.
silly, and it all had to do with grades with him sometimes.
Right,
'Cause,
right.
she was a great student.
Right.
He was
going to be a great
smart
student. He was going to be a
kid,
great student.
but didn't open up a book.
Exactly.
So you have to know your child.
Exactly.
You have to know
and be
your
fair.
child. And be fair.
And don't
right.
think that you could do with one what you do with
you
the
do with
other.
the other.
And always focusing on that. Well, with your sister, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
No, because it's
Right.
not going to work.
It's not going to work.
It's not going to work.
So there's a couple of sections that I wanted to kind of, talk about. The first one was sex. There was talk. You wrote about sex in the book. How do parents have that discussion with their
Right.
children? It's not an easy
It's
discussion.
not. It's not. And a lot of us
It's
are
natural,
right.
but it's not an easy
It's not
discussion.
easy.
Right.
But you know what I always said? I don't want a 14 or 15-year-old boy to give my daughter a discussion on sex. Because he's
No,
going to
you
have
don't.
some
That's
really
right.
great ideas that
Very
will
true.
not be in line with my principles.
That's right.
So I'm going to give the conversation.
Right.
And not only that, though, I think that if we teach our daughters and our sons to value themselves,
Yeah.
your virginity is
That's
a
true.
gift that should not be given lightly.
Lightly.
It
Yep.
should not be like, don't be fresh or don't be nasty. My mother's like, don't be nasty. What does that mean? So if I wash up, I'm good? Like, what does that even mean?
What does that mean? Right, yeah.
What does it even
Right.
mean? Like, but if you express it, like I told my daughter, if you can trust him in a room with $1 million, then you can trust him with your body.
Right. Yeah.
But you're not going to trust nobody with $1 million quick. You ain't
No,
going to meet
that's-
somebody on Monday and let them
and
buy
let
your
them-
money on Tuesday.
I like that
So
analogy.
think of yourself
Right,
in the same
exactly,
manner.
exactly.
I would love for them to wait till marriage. I mean, naturally, that's always what you give them. That is what you tell them. But I'm realistic as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't
Yeah.
want you to be ashamed of what you do. I want you to, be, if you do it bold.
Right.
Know that this is what you should
This is
do,
what
right?
you
You know what I'm
should
saying?
do, right,
Stand, be proud of the
exactly.
decision.
That's right,
Don't
that's
be in the
right.
corner ashamed of it because like I said, you met him on Monday and it happened on Tuesday. Because now you're looking around going, I hope nobody finds out. But it doesn't matter if anybody finds
Right,
out.
exactly.
You know.
That's right.
You
That's
know.
right.
I want you to be fond of the memory, because
Right.
it's going to be a memory.
It's going to be
It's
right.
going to be
exactly.
memorial.
Yeah.
One way or another.
Either way, right?
One
either
way or
way,
another.
Either way.
Right.
So we of course we're running out of time.
Yes.
And I want to make sure I get everybody back in.
No
but
problem.
I just want to ask you, what advice? What if you could give one piece of advice to people raising millennials? What would it be?
Compromise, not control. This is I'm telling you that the lesson that I learned early on was to compromise and not try to control. Because my ultimate plan was for us to get along and for her to trust me. So if I learned to compromise and give her the room that she needed to grow and to respect her own decisions,
Right. Yeah.
because that's a big thing. Let them have their own decisions
Right.
too.
Yes,
Because you got to
you
live
have
with the
to.
consequences.
That's right. That's right.
But
That's right.
so if I could give you that, compromise over control. Control really doesn't get you far.
Right. Right. So I'm gonna put up some contact information so people can
Okay.
reach out to you. They can purchase your book. We have your website, your number, and all of that.
Yes.
What's next? What's going on with Monique?
Well, I'm hoping that after today, my phone won't stop ringing. That's what I'm going with. I can come make you laugh.
That's
I can
right.
come be serious. What you want?
Right, so you do speaking
right,
and
I
things
do
like-
speaking.
okay.
I'm available to speak. To groups regarding our girls,
Okay.
even our boys. It's
Right.
they're children, so
They're
it does
children,
not
right.
really matter.
Right.
I love to make you laugh.
Yes, you
Laughter
do.
is a merriment of the soul for the soul, and we all need to laugh more because there's surely enough to be sad
right.
about.
That's right.
So
That's right.
So
So-
that's where I am. Our book engagements as they come along. I have
Okay.
nothing pressing right now, but I'm
you're
sure
a
that's going
comedian
to change.
too?
Yes, so I'm sure
okay.
that's going to change.
Yes, that's right.
We're about to change today.
That's
Yes,
right.
yes.
So, Monique, I want to thank you
Thank you
for
for that.
coming on the show.
Thank you for the opportunity.
I really, you know, you have such a lively personality, and I just love the information that you put in the book. It really comes across because you have a voice.
Yes,
So it really
yes.
comes across in the book. So I appreciate that.
Yes.
We are back, and I am so excited to have these fabulous women at the table. You know what? I couldn't let this moment go by without having all of them here because they're all dynamic and they all have a story to tell and great information to share. So I wanted just to bring us all together. We initially met at different places, but they all participated in my Write, Rhyme, and Recite collective, where they talked about their books. We also had a poetry slam scholarship competition. They all were there for that. It was
Awesome.
It was thank you.
Awesome.
It was I was elated the whole day because the future is in good hands.
Yes.
You know, the future is in good
some
hands.
Very intelligent.
I mean, they were
young
just
people.
unbelievable.
Yes. Yes.
I'm like, man, I wasn't like this in high school. But
Nowhere near.
nowhere near. But one of the things I want to talk about, because I always talk about media, and I always talk about I like having discussions around media. Our son is a film guy. Our daughter's a journalist. So we talk about media all the time. And one of the things that I wanted to get your take on was how media impacts the way that Black people are portrayed. So, and one of the things that I kind of ran across, because I thought it was very interesting that we all live on Long Island. You live in Queens, but right, but
I'm on the outskirts.
you're on the outskirts, right? Long Island is one of the most segregated
Always have
It is.
areas in the country.
Right.
Not New York, the country. And one of the things that I was taking a look at, it's people of color. The population in the suburbs has increased.
Yes.
So we're living in the suburbs, but it's still segregated. It's more segregated, or as much segregated as it was,
30 years ago.
50 years ago. And one of the reasons, they kind of speak to is Levittown. We all know Levittown. World War II, they made these houses. Black people were not allowed to buy these houses. It even said that they're only for Caucasians. And so we started off moving to the suburbs at a disadvantage.
Right.
So having said that Long Island is very segregated, how do you think media, because basically what I'm saying is they don't know us.
Right.
So how do you think media...
They don't know the real us.
They don't know, right.
true
They don't,
us.
exactly,
Right.
exactly.
That we're
So-
great neighbors.
Right, exactly. But they really don't know, because I think media has such an impact on how we are perceived. So I just wanted to have a discussion a little bit about media and how you think
Right.
it kind of, impacts the perception of Black people.
I think that we, first of all, have gone so far away from what we should be doing. Our reality market is disgusting. I mean, really, what they're allowing
Yeah.
or what they're inviting us to.
Right.
They're inviting us to a table that they say there's plenty for all of us to eat. But unfortunately, the food is disgusting. Like,
Right.
in order to eat here, you have to act a fool. You have to, you have to be portrayed as something less than what you are.
Right, exactly.
These are smart young men and women that have a lot of intelligence, but they allow what they want to see us do
Right. Yep.
motivate them,
Right.
or they'll go along with it. You got to at some point say, I stand for something, or I fall for
for
absolutely everything.
everything, right.
And we're at a fall for any and everything
Right.
place right now.
Yeah.
I can't even stand it. I'm literally nauseated sometimes, like that you would allow yourself to be used in such a way.
That way, exactly.
And there's other opportunities. People want quality as well.
Right.
You just got to persevere.
Right.
It may not come as quick as you want, but it
But
will.
you can, like
People
you
will
said,
come along.
And Black women, are the fastest growing entrepreneurs.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, all of you are entrepreneurs, but yet we don't see that.
Right.
You know, we don't see that in media portrayals.
We see it in social media, but it needs to be more prevalent
Right.
in the news and the TV programming.
Right.
And I think it's slowly there, but we got to remember, and I like to say, we are living in a time of a collective disturbance.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's a mindset. It's a
Right.
mindset. It's a mindset that is historically based in what this country was built
Right.
on. You know, you talk about our history.
Right. You
know,
can't
slavery.
negate that.
You can't negate it. You know,
Right.
yes, you know, I spoke about earlier, you don't want to look back and get depression. You don't want to look
Right.
too far and get anxious.
Right.
You do want to be present, but there is that is a fact. And like I said, they don't know the true us. Because one, like, you know, Monique was saying, that what are we putting out there? What are we allowing ourselves to be,
Yeah.
how we're allowing ourselves to be
Right.
portrayed.
Used, right.
And then because we know where the power is, but we have to be able to take back that power and recognize the power that we have within.
Right.
And that's where really cooperative economics within our own communities and doing exactly what you're doing,
Right.
which is what I commend you and your husband do here, Verdel, because we need to have that control. We need
right.
to control the media.
That's right.
And
That's
that's
right.
part of the issue.
It is. You know, one of the things that slowly but surely a lot of news outlets that highlight what's going on in our community are not there anymore.
Absolutely.
Right.
And that's the saddest part. Because you know what? They're not looking to really portray on anything beautiful that's local that's happening.
Right.
They're portraying on the big picture and what everybody else is looking at.
Right.
And unfortunately, what the big picture is, a lot of it is maybe reality TV
Right.
or what's on the mainframe news, and it's not favorable to us.
It's not
Right.
favorable.
It's not.
Exactly.
It's all negativity.
Right. You look at, we used to watch Roland Martin. We didn't watch it when he came on, but we watched it when we got home
Right.
at night. His show's gone.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Why?
Melissa Harris Perry. We were faithful Melissa Harris Perry watchers.
Right.
She came on Saturday and Sunday. Gone.
Right.
You know, so
Wasn't-
you.
wasn't Travis? What is his name?
Oh, Travis
Travis
Smiley.
Smiley.
Travis
Right,
Smiley.
right.
Right.
That
I
was
think
another-
I think he has some issues.
Well,
though.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, I think he has some issues.
But when he was when he was in his game,
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
we could
There's some other
enjoy.
stuff.
He
And
brought
what-
some good stuff to the
But
table. you
what
know.
happened to Michael Baisden?
Michael,
Right.
What happened to him?
Well, remember Jenna, was it Jenna 6?
Yes,
Gina
9, was it not? I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, he was very active in that.
Right, that's when everything got shut down. See, anytime you
Wow.
start to express yourself and you have a voice and you have a
Right.
platform.
Yeah.
Like I'm even, you know, mindful. I have a platform.
That's
You
right.
know,
Yeah.
my show I do on Facebook Live.
That's
It's in
right.
my own
Yeah,
little world.
that's right.
But I use
You have to
that
be mindful of that.
platform and I'm mindful, but I'm also saying, look, this is the information that we need to know in our community.
100%. I
And
agree with
take that
That's right.
responsibility,
That's right.
so-
That's why I am so happy that I have all of you here, because you are sharing, and that's my whole, I'm an educator. So I want, like I say, I want to share information that informs and enlightens, so you, in the hopes that you learn something you did not know. Where would you get this information?
Right.
You know, that's positive. That's, you know, given to you in a way that you could take it in.
Right.
And
That's
with
edible.
people, that's right. That's right. And,
That's edible.
and it's from people that look like
Right.
you.
Yes.
You know, so
Right.
I want to thank all of you for the work that you do. It's so important. Just getting that information out to people. It just makes me excited. Because it's
see
so,
more of it.
that's
Yes.
right. It's so
Yes.
helpful. So that's why I
Yes. And
love
it's
doing
contagious.
this. It's
Yes.
contagious.
It's
I
contagious.
love doing
Yes.
this because
Yes.
I want people to get the information that they need. So I think we are running out of time, 1 minute. So I just want, you know, to thank all of you for being here, Martine, Monique, and Phoenixx. I think you guys are so awesome, and I'm so happy that we made the connection,
Yes.
and that you were able to share information with everybody. So
Yes.
I want to thank everybody for watching the show.
Yes.
Please make sure that you look at the contact information for each of these ladies, and that you purchase their books. They have a lot of information. They also speak, and they can come to you to share this information with the masses. So I want to thank everybody for watching Conversations with Verdel Jones.